Back is Dorsey to throw. Yeah! He throws it in the end zone.
Yeah! Off to the races. Can they catch it? Cuts it back. Ohio
State wins. The Ohio State of Mind podcast hosted by Josh Keatley and Michael Chin.
All right, welcome back to another edition of the Ohio State of Mind podcast. I'm over here, host Michael Cho. The other side of me is Josh Keatley and our producer, Chris. Gentlemen, it is Wednesday, September 4th, 2024. The Buckeyes played their first game this weekend against Akron. But before we get into that, episode number 42, the Paul Warfield episode. This was pretty simple, right? Paul Warfield?
Absolutely.
Didn't even have to look over it. It was easy. Josh, you got anybody else that was potentially under consideration?
Yeah, there's a couple people, but I do want to add one of the cool things about Paul Warfield that not a lot of people realize is that he was kind of on the forefront of these giant NFL contracts that we see today. A lot of people don't realize this, but Larry Csonka, and Jim Kick were in a contract dispute with the Dolphins. So they left to go to the WFL, the World Football League, which was a new upcoming league, and they signed for bazunga bucks, huge bucks. You know, this was way back in the day. I mean, $1 million deals. I think they signed with the Toronto Northmen. But funny story, true story, they were actually kicked out of Canada because they protect the CFL up there, very involved with the government. So they ended up being the Memphis Southmen. Now, this league went bankrupt after like 2 years. So this is their championship game. Their last year they were in existence they actually had to have like active duty military there to guard the money and cash because the players wouldn't play because they haven't been paid. They're like, no, we need this money now. So they actually brought in the cash of the game. So long story, short story, Paul Warfield is, he's one of the reasons why we see these giant contracts today, the guarantees, free agency. He was a big part of the reason why that kicked up. A couple other 42s, Bobby Carpenter, you know him, you see him. If you follow Ohio State football, you see his face on the radio. Great linebacker, played with A.J. Hawk and Anthony Schlegel. John Brockington is another super underrated running back. Any other college, he'd be the best running back in their history. Unfortunately, he went to Ohio State. Also, severely underrated NFL career. I think he was NFL Rookie of the Year his first year. He was the NFL rushing leader his first 2 years in the NFL or something like that. And then injuries just kind of derailed his career with the Green Bay Packers. Vince Workman, everybody remembers Vince Workman. Went on to have a great NFL career. Vince Workman is part of that crew with Cooper, I can't remember his first name, and Chris Carter when they were getting paid by agents. So that kind of derailed what could have been a really, really special career. But that's it. Those are my guys.
If you are seeing Bobby Carpenter on the radio, you need to call somebody.
Oh, I apologize.
You went to the dentist. You might need to see somebody else, boss.
Well, I see him in my dream. So he's got that great jawline.
Oh, wow. Yes.
Very nice.
Yes, he does.
Let's not say, hey man, he is in the NFL 100th anniversary all-time team. That's impressive.
Wow. I didn't even realize that. Had a hell of a career with the Dolphins and the Browns.
Yeah, he was really good. Very, really, really good. All right, let's break down what we saw this past Saturday. The Buckeyes started a little bit slow. It was 17-3 going into the half, and then they decided to show up in the second half. Depth. I think reps. I think a lot of factors, carried into the Buckeyes kind of exploding in that second half. Let's start off with what we didn't like Josh, what were your qualms with this 56-2 win over the Zips?
Yeah, the best way to describe this game was kind of like a hand job. It's like it's not what you wanted, but like
You'll take it.
Yeah, exactly. You'll take it's not a win. Like you don't brag to your buddies that you got a hand job, but you don't go home sad and eating Taco Bell. So it is what it is. There was no one really shined other than Jeremiah Smith. I mean, Lathan Ransom shined. There was a couple, but everybody had their issues too. I mean, Lathan Ransom had a missed tackle. Of course, you're going to have that. So I do think there was a lot of positive. Even Jeremiah Smith hit that drop on that tunnel screen. That was going to go 70 yards. That was going to be a touchdown. I don't blame him for that penalty at all.
Back-to-back penalties to start the game.
But the one penalty where he was lined up at tight end, I'm not going to blame him for that. Now that I saw that on the broadcast, I was like, dude, he was confused. He was just looking for some guidance. And he didn't get it. So, like, it is what it is. But, that's Will Howard made some silly decisions. But he, Chris and I talked about it before, that pass right before the half. If that was against Oregon, that was going to be a touchdown, and it was going to be 17-10 going to half. You can't do that stuff. But again, he cleaned up in the second half. Quinshon Judkins ran very awkwardly in the first half. Some of that was the offensive line's fault. Some of that was his fault. Some of that was the play calling. But in the second half, again, you kind of talked about the depth. I think that you really saw that with the offensive line gelling. There was more holes. Quinshon Judkins, and the play calling got a little bit more better suited for him as well. There was a lot of drop passes as well. Carnell Tate had a real ugly drop pass, but again, he had a great, beautiful touchdown as well. The defensive line, some of them were kind of slow out of the starts, but JTT finished strong. Jack Sawyer looked really good as a pass rusher, had a couple wicked spin moves, but he also overran a couple plays. Tyleek Williams looked really good. There's not a lot to complain there. The linebackers looked horrid. CJ Hicks looked horrible. The only thing that he blitzed really, really well. He's a great, fantastic blitzer. Okay, so that again, everybody has a positive, everybody has a negative. Any other thing he was required to do was really, really awful, though. I don't think he's gonna. He can't play like that against Oregon. He can't do it. I would look for Arvell Reese to start. Arvell Reese might start over him this week. Sonny Styles looked really, really bad too. I excuse that a little bit because he had that green dot. He was doing the communication. I don't think he was prepared for that. There was a lot of times he's sitting there doing this and trying to get the signals that it's loud in the shoe. I don't think he was used to that. Denzel Burke had a fantastic interception, but again, he missed a couple tackles. Igbinosun where he was dominant, but he was also a little too physical. If he smashes Dylan Gabriel like that, that penalty's probably not going to go his way. Overall, I was disappointed, but I'm not hitting the panic button. Like I said, everybody had their issues, but everybody kind of played better. Again, I was bitching about the linebacker. The linebackers and the offensive line were the worst parts, but the linebackers missed 50% of their starting lineup with Cody Simon, and the offensive line missed 20% of their starting lineup with Donovan Jackson out, and 3 guys made their first start in the shoe. So it's really hard to be pissed because it's like, okay, Austin Severud made his first start, Tegra Shabula made his first start, and Seth McLaughlin got his first start in the shoe. So it's like, do we excuse it? I mean, it's Akron. That's the thing that really sucks is that I can excuse it. I have these excuses ready, but it was Akron. So, like I said, hand job feels like a pretty apt description.
Chris, I don't know if I can follow that up.
I know he's a master of metaphors, right? I mean, let's be real. I'm literally, I think we're all just going to caveat and piggyback on what Josh said. Hey, a lot of offensive linemen made their first start. Donovan Jackson makes this offensive line better, but how much does Donovan Jackson make this offensive line better? The offensive line, they would come up out of their stance, make that initial contact, and it just stop. Almost seems like they would just completely stop. Like, hey, they'd come up there, make contact, look back to the coach like, this good? You like this? Okay. And that's what it seemed like. I would agree with CJ Hicks. Hey, he's a fantastic blitzer. I think CJ Hicks is a line of scrimmage linebacker. I think he is. I think that's what he is. And I mean, hey, everyone can evolve, can develop, whatnot. But yeah, Sonny Styles looked lost. Sonny Styles looked flat-footed the whole game. He was standing there flat-footed, and opposing offensive linemen would already be at their second level, making contact with him before he even took a step. So I mean, good call on the green dot. Hey, it might be something he's not used to. I mean, it is something he's not used to, but The noise with the shoe, the atmosphere, what have you. No, I can definitely see that. Yes, Will Howard. Will Howard seems like he almost seemed like every time the camera would panel him on the sidelines, he was smiling, laughing like the kid in the candy store. He was excited to be there. And again, that overexcitement, I think, definitely fed into that. Let me turn around 360, kind of chuck this across the field and try to make a play to Travion Henderson. I think that's him just trying to be a gamer. But you're absolutely right. A better team, you're getting an earful at half. But defense, it's Akron. Okay, everybody wanted to make a play, but it's Akron. They're not gonna like, let me go ahead and chuck it up. And I know that you're man to man with Denzel Burke. We didn't get to see everyone shine because they weren't afforded those opportunities. I think some of the play calling was a bit confusing. I was confused in the third quarter when we started subbing in second string linemen, brought James People in for that score, and then trotted out the first team again. Carnell Tate has a nice touchdown. I was confused about that. I'd love to know what the reasoning was behind it. I mean, it seemed like they were about to make full-scale shifts and then kind of mulliganed out of that. So I'm not concerned. Like you said, it's Akron. We're going to talk about the opponent next week. You get a step up in competition, and we expect a larger step up in productivity, really. But hey, I'll take 52-6, regardless who it is.
Yeah, I don't know. Go ahead, Jeff.
Can I also add the offensive line thing back to what Chris was saying? Like I agree. It didn't seem like the offensive line was physically bad. No one got pushed back. No one was on their ass. But it did feel like is this okay, teacher? Like you said, that was a pretty good description. Because a lot of times, too, what I felt like the issue were like communication errors. Like there were a lot of guys, they would bring 4 guys, and then you'd see Seth McLaughlin not help. He wouldn't block anybody. He would just be like, you know what I mean? He took way too long. We talked about that first play where Will Howard kind of spun out of that pass rush. That defensive end, it was Nanley who got free. No one touched him because it was a delayed blitz. And I figured out that the 2024 buzzword for the college football season is going to be simulated blitz. We did a lot with CJ Hicks. Akron did it a lot. Georgia Tech or Boston College did it a lot last night. Every game that I watched, it felt like they were doing simulated blitzes constantly. So those guys were delaying, they were bringing 4, and Josh Fryer got confused, and he moved in, and then that's when that guy went. So it's not like they sucked. It was just that it felt like they were just not doing their job. I don't know how to describe it. It felt like they just were lost.
I think it's easy to describe, actually. There's no nasty on this team. There is no, like, you watch other offensive lines and you're like, man, like, that's a group that you wouldn't want to get into a street fight with, right? Yeah. Like, Ohio State's guys are big, they're strong, they're athletic.
Yep.
But do they have that mean streak? I don't see that. I don't see them going after dudes because, like, look, in my eyes, if you're an offensive lineman and you blow your assignment and there's somebody right there that you can go hit them. It doesn't hurt to hit them, right? We're seeing guys just completely whiff, not touch anybody.
Yes.
It's like, don't be physical. What we want to see is that physicality. What bothered me again in this game, and it continues to be a trend, is this short yardage push. They're just not getting it. And I think that goes back to what Justin Fry is teaching. And I think each individual unit is a direct reflection of that coach. I don't think, like, in my eyes, and you've heard this podcast multiple times, I'm not a fan of Justin Fry. But I'm giving him a chance. I want to see improvement. Now, I did like the fact that they looked very good in pass pro.
They did.
No qualms on that. No sacks allowed. I think that, it also helps that you got Will Howard, who's absolutely a tank back there. And, he's going to avoid sacks on his own because he's just a big dude. But I think that nasty that they may have in pass protection, I don't know why that flip. Well, the switch gets flipped and you just don't see it.
I don't think that they're nasty in pass protection either. right?
I
Because
think they are. I think they are nasty, or I mean, like to a degree of nasty. You know what I'm saying?
they're not. They're still not body bagging anybody. They're just kind of getting. They're getting in the way.
You're not seeing a lot of pancakes.
But you're still seeing guys. It's not. I wish I saw them with. I don't think I see them with. I see them not block anybody. Like Josh Fryer. Like there were plays where if you watch, McLaughlin doesn't block anybody. Like he combo blocks really late, and it's like, dude, the play's over. You stood looking for action for 2 seconds. That's forever. A play, an average play is what, 3 seconds, and you didn't touch anybody for 2. It's kind of wild to me. Last thing I do want to add, you're right. I think we're all agree we're frustrated with the offensive line. The linebackers were just as pitiful.
Yeah.
The Akron leading receiver was their tight end, and there's a reason for that, right? That they went out to the flats, they're tight end a lot. The last thing I want to say about this game is if they're playing a good team, if they're playing Penn State, if they're playing Georgia,
Oregon,
playing
Michigan,
Oklahoma, they're losing. The score was 52-6, but Mike, you described it best when you said it was 52-6 because Akron gave up. The depth was too much. Chris made a comment. We were on the phone earlier. The quarterback wanted to go home. It got
beat up.
It was morally. It was just
Jack Sawyer.
over. Yeah, but any good team, they're losing this game.
Yeah, it's hard to say that when you win by such a large margin. But I think at that when we're talking about some of the top teams in the country going up against each other, I think the margin's razor thin. And I think in this situation, I think you're right, Josh. I think this effort that we saw in week 1 would probably lose us a lot of those games. But the good part is that it's week 1.
Yep.
The good part is that Ohio State's got a damn cake schedule, really, until they hit Oregon.
No panic.
Right? There's no panic. No. I actually like it. I like the fact that they didn't play their A game because now Ryan Day can go back in there and pound his team and say, this is where we have to be better. We have to be better at this. We have to be better at this. We have to be better at this. And I think it's actually a good thing that they didn't play to their talent level in this game. I mean, Chip Kelly even said during his press conference, one of his press conferences this week, that he didn't call his A game. He said he called a mid game. Like, if your coaches know that, you didn't do your job and they didn't do their job, there's room to improve. And I like that.
Absolutely.
A 52-6 win is a very impressive win. And if that's not Ohio State's best,
no,
then that's a very, very good sign of mine.
And Chip Kelly knows what he's doing too. We bitched about the play calling. I don't want to get too deep into it because we've already spent too much time on this pod or on this topic. But they didn't roll out him at all. They didn't do any design runs. They know what they're doing, and that's good. You don't want to do that against Akron. They're not going to do that against Michigan.
No, not yet.
That's a whole other facet of the game that you're going to see against Oregon.
Yeah.
But do you want to move on to the MVPs, Chris?
Yeah, let's go in MVPs. I'll go first solely because of the graphic. Before I get to my MVP, I will talk positives. Like you said, hey, Arvell Reese looked confident. He looked violent out there at times.
Yeah.
Gabe Powers looked well,
really
too.
Good. Yeah, that pick 6 was nice. He played the ball really, really well.
I will say this: that defense last year, 11 takeaways. We had 3 this week. Okay. 11 takeaways all year. We had 3 this week. Hey,
2 for touchdowns.
2 of them
for touchdowns. That's right.
2 of them to the house. Will Howard played within the play call, except for the goofy with 25 seconds left before the half. He made a few mistakes. Obviously, the one out route to actually a curl that was thrown inside to Njigba, and then the out route on 3rd down to Njigba that was thrown inside and it kind of gets hit and he pops it up. That was kind of that was concerning, but that's going to get cleaned up. I mean, he could have left. He could have ended the game poorly, like you said. He could have left a sour taste in our mouth going into week 2, but he didn't. And I will say this. Let me get onto this before, because he's not my MVP, but I'll say this. Marvin Harrison Jr., Jackson Smith and Jigba, Mecca Mbuka, Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave. You could put Jameson Williams in there. You can put, all the talk of Carnell Tate. Yeah, Terry McLaurin. You can talk all the hype and talk out of Carnell Tate coming out of IMG Academy. This true freshman came out and 3 of his first 4 catches, 3rd and 10, 3rd and 6, 3rd and 4.
Yep.
If we sit here and everyone talk about the hype all summer long, and Ryan Day, and even Jeremiah Smith himself, like, hey, it's a lot of hype. I understand that, this and that. They look like they've been practicing a lot longer than they have. And it is apparent that Jeremiah Smith is Will Howard's safety blanket in a sense.
It appears so.
It appears so. And it appears like it's been established for a while now. And it's good because, hey, it's great to have him as your stud number 1. And you've got Emeka Ibuka and Carnell Tate still on the field running routes as well.
Yeah. It's insane to think that he is at this. He is legitly probably better than Marvin Harrison Jr.
Hold on.
No, at this point in their careers.
Well, Marvin Harrison didn't play
in their freshman year. I know he played at the end, but he didn't push his way into the starting lineup. And I understand that the depth was completely different then and it is now.
Yeah.
Right? I get that. But when you're looking at the attributes and the physicality, the hands, the route running, are we seeing something better than a freshman Marvin Harrison Jr.? Or are we seeing equal? What like?
Well, he's definitely. I'm going to agree with you that it is better because of given what we've seen comparative, but I just think that should come with an asterisk. I mean, we talked about Jeremiah Smith ad nauseum. You talked about him all offseason. We know your love for him. I had him as a top 5 wide receiver in the Big Ten, so I don't think that's real. This performance really surprised anybody. I think I in my rankings I kind of had an asterisk, like I think at the end of the year he's going to shine. That was wrong. He shined last week, but the wide receiver that kind of surprised me the most was Brandon Inniss, the number 4 wide receiver as a returner. And all offseason, I was counting the praises of Jaden Ballard, and I still love Jaden Ballard, but he caught a ball he should have let go out, and Brandon Inniss just was more explosive. It just flat out, he was just a better playmaker, and that's our 4th wide receiver. So I'm pretty stoked about that as well. Another thing to note: the tight ends played relatively poorly, but Will Kazmarek got more snaps than G. Scott, and looks to be a pretty competent blocker. So we know what we got in Kazmarek. I don't think G. Smith was that bad, really.
He missed a couple. He missed a couple blocks. Just kind of walking around like we were talking about earlier with the offensive line. He missed a couple where he just didn't touch any.
That's fair.
Yeah,
but it happens though.
Yeah, it happens. And then but like you said, I rattled off all those receivers. At the end of the day, is he better than Marvin Harrison was? At the end of the day, out of all those names I said, he is a true freshman who started week 1. And that's something you can't take away. And I understand
led the team in receptions, yards, and touchdowns.
And I wholeheartedly understand why Ryan Day's knees buckled on National Signing Day. Okay. I think we all get it. We all get it now. But with all that Jeremiah Smith talk, I am going to have to say my MVP was Will Howard. He could have played poorly. He could have been, a big fish in a small pond coming over. Mm-hmm. I think, honestly, like I said, every time they panned over to him, he was like the first day of school. He was taking it all in. A couple of passes were off, like I said. We talked about those 2 to Mbuka that didn't convert the drive, didn't carry on the drive. But like I said, I'll chalk that up to week 1. But he looked comfortable. He looked, as the game went on, as the second half started, he really, I think that maybe my bar was a little low. Like, okay, I just need him to get it done. Can he, like I said, can he right the ship? Can he keep it on the tracks? This guy's going to contribute. This guy's going to contribute to some success, and he's going to make plays on his own. I think he's going to make plays once they're already broken and surprise a lot of us. And I think he was absolutely the right choice. Don't get me wrong. We'd all would have loved to see what Cam Ward looked like at Ohio State, but Will Howard conducted himself right. wanted to do a little bit of extra at times, but Will Howard, he's my MVP. Go ahead, Mike.
I mean, I can't disagree with that, but I think that we talked about a guy that came in and his first taste of everything and just dominated.
You actually gave me two guys.
I did. So I think that. So obviously, I was talking about Jeremiah Smith there. I just like he just looks so elite. Like, I mean, I've been on the hype train for a long time. Like, I watched his highlight film. I've watched plenty of high schoolers film. I know what a good wide receiver looks like. I know what a good route runner looks like. I know what a guy who understands how to use his body and use his hands. I mean, like, for the most part, aside from maybe that drop, he doesn't catch the ball with his body. His hands are out and about. And that tells me that this kid has been working on that for a very long time. And I just feel like he was absolutely awesome. Like I said earlier, led the team in receptions with 6. I think it was 92 yards receiving, a couple scores. He was just great. I mean, there's not a lot you could say about him in his first college game that was bad. Aside from, I mean, look, he's 17, 18, right? He's lighting
18,
up for the first time in front of 100,000 people, and he made a couple mental errors, right? He dropped that tunnel screen, which probably would have had 70 yards for a score, and said, "Hello, college football. I'm that dude." Obviously, he dropped that one, and then he had an illegal formation the next play, but he didn't let that bother him, and I think that shows a lot of maturity as well.
Agreed.
And I just think that, this is gonna be a fun 3 years watching him run around, because he's gonna be he's 100% off the NFL after 3.
Oh, absolutely.
So it's gonna be a lot of fun over the next couple of years to watch him, just grow and continue. I mean, I don't know what his ceiling is either, and that's the crazy part, because we've seen 1,000-yard wide receivers, but can he get more? Like, what can he do? Like, what's the ceiling here? Who knows who his quarterback's going to be going forward, but we obviously, Devin Brown got in first, which I thought was a little odd, because I would have put Julian Sayin, because I don't think Devin Brown helps the team for next year. I think Julian Sayin getting some valuable reps, but I'm rambling a bit, so I'm gonna move over to the defensive side of the ball. I took JT Tuimoloau out, just constant pressure. The second half, just was in the backfield all day. Really played well in my eyes. To me, it's all about consistency with this guy. He's shown unbelievable flashes of being like the best defensive end in college football, like we saw Penn State a couple years ago, but then he goes out and has games where he gets one tackle and he's the most, he's like non-existent on the field. Well, he was existent during this one. Loved his activity, but again, it's consistency. He's got to put it together game and game and game and game. And I think that's, to me, that was the thing with Sawyer. He's like a step slow right now. He was getting to the quarterback, but he wasn't quite getting there right away. And for us to have that 1-2 punch, he's got to turn it up a little bit. He's got to have a little bit more intensity. But I liked what I saw out of JTT.
All right, I'm gonna keep mine short and sweet. I also think that Jeremiah Smith played like a grown man.
Ooh. Oh, damn you. Go ahead. Hold on. Go ahead.
It was first week with the sound drops. Jeremiah Smith played like a grown man.
I'm a man. I'm 40.
Damn you.
Denzel Burke played well too. He kind of kicked it off with the turnover. So short and sweet. Let's move on.
Nice.
Love it. Next week, we've got Saturday, Western Michigan comes into Ohio Stadium, 7:30 Eastern on the Big Ten Network. Gentlemen, what are we thinking?
Mike, you want to kick it off?
I cannot see a directional Michigan school coming into Ohio Stadium and really giving them a game. I think we might see something similar to what we saw this past weekend. Ideally, I'd like to see the Buckeyes build a larger lead going into the half, but maybe we see 21-3, 21-10 type of deal, 24-10. Heading into half, a little bit more offensive explosion. I don't think that they're going to score much at all. The Broncos. I just can't see it. They played Wisconsin tough, but they're going up against this could be back-to-back Big Ten opponents. Teams like Western don't have that depth to grind through like this type of schedule. And I think that they gave it all against Wisconsin, and they were close, but Ohio State's just a different level than Wisconsin. Like I said, I do think they put up a couple points, but I don't think much. I'd take the Buckeyes. I think this spread is achievable, 38, 100%. I think that is achievable. So I'd take the Buckeyes. I'd take the over on the 52.5.
Chris, what you thinking?
Hey, we keep talking about the slow start. They need to start on time. They need to start on time. There's none of this. Let Western Michigan get out to a 3 or God forbid 10. I can understand some points. I'd like to see if Ohio State defense could pitch another shutout of letting them in the end zone. That'd be the dream. Offensive line needs to wake up. We're still waiting on the. Have we heard anything about Cody Simons or Donovan Jackson? Still day to day, I assume.
Rumor has it that they're not going to be seeing the field this Saturday.
I think from what I saw, I think Jackson. I think he if they needed him, he could play, but they're playing it safe. I think he's more of a day-to-day thing. And when you look at this, and when you look at the schedule, like he's already a proven commodity. There's no reason to put him out there to potentially continue to like have an injury linger a little bit longer.
Yeah.
I'm good with it. I mean, there's a massive talent gap. And on top of that, you're getting experience in some of your backups as well, which I think is super valuable in this era of college football, especially with the playoffs being expanded. And you need to have that extra depth. So I'm cool, if we're missing a couple starters and we get to play some backups because we'll see if the pups can bite.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree. Hopefully the whole linebacking core, the jitters are out of the way. If they're not out of the way, like we said, hey, Arvell Reese played great. There's plenty of
some more.
Yeah, there's plenty of linebackers behind them that are ready to play with their hair on fire. Again, hey, Chip Kelly, we both, all three of us, this guy, hey, he's not showing the whole offense. He'd be stupid too. How much of that onion are we going to peel back a little bit more this week? How much we're going to show a little bit, one other new wrinkle and keep that base. And like you said with Brandon Ennis, are we finally, because it seemed like a couple times we might have to get up off our seat during punt returns and kick returns this week. Are we finally going to see a kick return, our first one since 2010, or a punt return, the first one since 2014? It's been too damn long. That's what I want to see.
Yeah, man. I agree with you, Chris. Mike, you said some scores in the first. I agree that Ohio State should beat the spread. I would take Ohio State given the points. I would also take Ohio State over. I'm not going to put my own money on it, but gun to my head. I was a little disappointed by the numbers you were giving out, Mike. You were talking about 24-10 going into half. I don't want that. I'm really hoping they start out hot.
I don't want that either. But again, like they moved the ball a little bit on Wisconsin. They showed that they can do it. And again, they have nothing to lose in these. These are games like, I mean, you saw what Akron did last week. These are games where these teams have absolutely nothing to lose. So they're going to pull out all the stops. And occasionally that just doesn't work the way for the Buckeyes, in favor of the Buckeyes. So I feel like, they might have a couple of plays here and there where it's just like kind of fluky and they, put some points on the board.
So you guys talked about Ohio State, so I won't belabor the Ohio State talk, but let's talk about a little bit about Western Michigan, what they're strong at. We talked about Akron's defensive line being really tough, and that actually showed up to be pretty true. They got a pretty good push. CJ Nunnally was all over the field. Western Michigan is kind of the exact opposite. Western Michigan is better than Akron. I would compare the talent gap Mike, you talked about Ohio State being on a different tier than Wisconsin. I would say Western Michigan is on a different tier. Western Michigan is like the wax version of Wisconsin. Like, they're probably not going to win the conference, but they're a very tough team, right? They have a great offensive line. Addison West and Jacob Gideon are first-team All-MAC players. Addison West is for sure going to the NFL. They both have their entire offensive line really has Big Ten level size. That's why they were able to compete with Wisconsin so well. A lot of those guys are over 6 feet tall. A lot of those guys are over 300 pounds. You know what I mean? So they were not bullied by Wisconsin. They shouldn't be just bullied by Ohio State's defensive line. So this will actually be the first good test. Akron's offensive line was not up to that par at all. Huge talent gap there. So I'm pretty excited. The Ohio State defensive line is actually going to get a real good test here. A guy like Addison West gets off the ball. Kenneth Womack is maybe the most sure-handed receiver in college football. Anybody who's watched Western Michigan last year knows how good this kid is. He was first-team All-MAC. He was leading receiver last year. He was out last week. He has a broken hand. Western Michigan, sorry guys, there's like no beat writers over there, so I don't know if he's going to play. Again, his hand is broken, so my guess is a big old no. But they do have some other wide receivers that aren't bad. Anthony Sambucci is a classic white guy who catches everything with decent size. They have Jordan Parker, who didn't play a whole lot last week, but he's really fast. He's a transfer from New Mexico State. And then they have a tight end. This is what I'm scared of. Blake Bosma, or no, they got Chris Total is who I was told was going to be the main dude. He was a transfer from North Carolina State. We saw Akron get 40 yards receiving with a really shitty tight end and a really shitty really shitty situation. Because CJ Hicks wasn't getting out to the flats. The linebackers weren't getting out to the flats. So we'll see. So that's going to be a test too, because Western Michigan is going to know how to utilize their tight end because they did last week against Wisconsin. And then they have a running back in Jalen Buckley, who's a back freshman of the year last year, 1,000-yard rusher, who did pretty well against Western Michigan, averaged over 4 yards per carry and had 2 touchdowns. So Jordan Simmons from Akron wasn't that much worse than Buckley, if at all. So, but again, Western Michigan has a better offensive line. So you mix those things together and you might have – the defense is going to see a much larger challenge. I'm not a big fan of Hayden Wolf. He's just – Chris, we talked about that on the phone earlier. He's your standard MAC quarterback who kind of does his job. So I'm not going to sit here and talk about how great he is. I actually think the quarterback for Akron was better. It's just he just got destroyed because there's no offensive line over there.
Dude, I felt so terrible for Finley. It seemed like – no, honestly, it was like first down. All right, coach, I got a busted shoulder. It's like, all right, get out there. Second down, coach, I have a broken rib. It's like, all right, I'm thinking about a screenplay for second down. Third down, coach, I taste blood. Like this guy was just getting the hell beat out of him.
Dude, I because I go to the away locker room and his eyes were watering and shit. And he's limping and stuff. I'm like, God damn, guy just stormed the beaches of Normandy. What the fuck? So I'm with you. So that's kind of my synopsis on Western Michigan. So this will be a good game to watch for the Ohio State defensive line to really see if this is a good warm-up game for the really good defensive lines. There's not a huge gap. But like I said, Western Michigan has some dogs that'll be in the NFL.
Okay, I believe you.
I had to sprinkle it in there.
The sound drops are killing it, bro. I'm excited about these sound drops, dude.
I was gonna say, how late into that Wisconsin game was it still a 1-score game? It was like 6-7 minutes into the fourth.
It was
Still a 1-score game. Yeah,
it was pretty late.
Yeah, they hung in there. And Wisconsin, some of the feedback that I'm getting is a lot of people say Wisconsin sucks. Wisconsin clearly sucks. Wisconsin doesn't suck. They're not going to. Mike's kind of nailed it. They're not going to win the Big Ten. I'm not telling you that they're going to win the Big Ten, but as far as I don't know. Like we saw Georgia Tech kind of manhandle Florida State. Georgia Tech's not going to win the ACC either, but I think it's pretty clear that Georgia Tech's a decent team. I would classify Wisconsin in that same tier, right? Like Ohio State's not going to beat them by 50 points, like the lower tier of the Big Ten, right? So I want to be very clear about that. Mike might be right. Western Michigan might have blown their load. It was a very, very physical game, and Western Michigan didn't try to I don't really, for lack of a better term, pussyfoot around. Like Akron tried to pussyfoot around. I love Joe Moorhead. Then that's another reason why last week's game was such a great game, because Joe Moorhead is really, truly an offensive mastermind. He got that tight end was open a lot, and the quarterbacks just blew. He knew that. He was picking on CJ Hicks and he was picking on Sonny Styles. He had a lot of window dressing, a lot of motions that were tricking people. It was a really, really interesting offensive attack that Akron had. He just did not have the horses. So that was actually really good because they were able to see a lot of different movements, a lot of window dressing, but they weren't threatened by the actual weapons that they had. But again, Akron, Western Michigan, my point with that is Western Michigan hits you in the fucking mouth. So a team that hits you in the mouth, it's really hard to, it's like a heavyweight boxer. It's hard for them to come back the next week. So Mike might be right when he said that West Michigan might have blown their load, but we'll certainly see. I would not sleep on them, but I do expect Ohio State to pound them.
You're taking Ohio State by 38.
Oh, Ohio State should beat the spread and should go up the total because I'm assuming that they're going to start. We made a lot of excuses for this team this past week. We all agreed. I said the hand job thing. There's no more excuses. This is the second game.
Had to sprinkle that back in, did you?
That shit should be out of their system. So let's rock and roll, right? This says my commentary says more about my thinking that Ohio State's going to be able to reach another level than Western Michigan being shitty, if that makes sense.
No, absolutely.
No, definitely does. Definitely does.
Absolutely. All right.
So we gotta take a look at the rest of the conference slate.
Absolutely. West Illinois 0-1 coming into Indiana. I could not find a line on this game. I couldn't tell you a player that plays for West Illinois. Maybe Josh can.
So, Western Illinois, the Leathernecks, I do want to shout it out that this was the first away game that I got to see was at Western Illinois. We lost. I think the running back got a tryout with the Titans. We got smashed like 80-0. I sat on the bench. I think I played like 3 plays, and the people in the stands, they saw me as a short white guy, and they were just like, "You suck, 16." And I was like, "I'm not playing. I'm not playing." But I couldn't find the spread either. There was one spread on like an offshore site that I'm never going to use, but we'll go ahead and use it for the sake of argument. Western Illinois, it had Indiana giving 3 to Western Illinois. That to me feels like a gimme. If it was on DraftKings or BetMGM or Caesars, I'm pounding Indiana. So I don't know if there's any legitimacy to that line. So let's rock and roll with that.
I don't think so.
No, like I said, I'm not going to be betting on that.
There's no way.
I'm not going to be betting on that website.
I mean, ESPN's FPI gives Indiana a 96.7% chance.
If you find a different spread,
so I would automatically assume the spread would be like
48,
40s, and
42-5. Yeah,
let's do it. Yeah. So Western Illinois plus 48. Against Indiana. I'm still taking Indiana. Anybody?
48? Yeah, I'd take the Hoosiers too.
I would go with 48, and I don't know if Cignetti had the offensive performance, the come out that he wanted, but if he didn't, I think he's definitely going to have it this week.
Yeah, they looked pretty good last week.
They did. Not bad. What are they scoring? Like 32, I think it was, right?
Yeah, but it was against the airport too. It was not against a slouch, you know what I mean? Like it wasn't against an FCS opponent. So
it was against Idaho.
Exactly. It was against
Florida International. But 30 they put up 31 last year. Which not too bad. Not too bad.
I think that's funny. Okay, so next game. I didn't even get I'm sorry, Chris. We talked about this at the beginning. To recap our bets from last week, Chris and I are tied at 9-8-1. Mike, you're slightly behind at 7-10-1. So that's where we're at.
Just give me that information next week, and I'll make a graphic.
I apologize.
Kind of my thing.
So the next game is Duke at Northwestern. Northwestern is favored by 2.5. Chris, you want to start us off on this one?
Go ahead and tell me the Duke transfer quarterback from Texas, right?
Malik Murphy.
Malik Murphy. Hey, I don't know. I watched some of that Northwestern game, and mind you, it was a slog of a watch. But I did like the stadium, if you can call it a stadium, the field in which they played at.
The grandstands.
There it goes. Well, that was the thing that confused me. It's beautiful.
The view is amazing.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. But what I was confused about was they had the grandstands, and behind the end zone, they had a set of grandstands too, but they weren't filled. Why is that? It seems like everybody and their brother would want to go.
I think that's where the band was.
Is that what it is? Okay, that makes sense.
Oh, is that? Oh, okay. I think
that's where they had the band.
These games
And
are on
they,
Friday night.
the band moves around and they're not just
I
static the whole time.
got you now. That makes
Well,
more sense.
what kind of pissed me off is that they have this beautiful sight straight down the lake, right to downtown Chicago, and they decided to put stands right in that path.
Right in
Now, I get
the
it.
eyesight.
I get it. It's the players. It'd be difficult for them to see through that and all that stuff, and I get it. But they had an opportunity to do something really, really cool, and I think they missed the boat on it.
Yeah, but I was not. I shouldn't have been impressed by Northwestern last week. I honestly was. If you would have told me that Miami would have walked in there with the upset, I would have believed it. I wouldn't have been shocked. I'll say that. Honestly, I'm going with the upset. I'm going with Duke in this one.
Mike?
I'm going with the upset. I'm going with Duke.
That's interesting. I'm still not buying Northwestern, so it's not really interesting. I think that, I just think last year they just played over their heads. I mean, I just can't buy them. And I don't know why. It's just something that just like doesn't sit well with me about them. I can't their quarterback was their leading, they're all everything dude. He counted for what, like 250 yards and a score. Like, that's just not going to fly against better teams. I can't buy Northwestern. They won 13-6 against Miami of Ohio. Like, let's be real here. Even though Duke is not the best football program, Duke's better than Miami of Ohio. So, I'm with you, Chris. I got the Blue Devils in this one.
I don't know if Duke is better than Miami, Ohio. Miami, Ohio won the MAC last year, and it was with the hurt quarterback. Brett Grabber, who's Blaine Gabbert's little brother, is back, and he played that game. And I thought Northwestern looked really impressive. They do this. They're uniquely. The coach is a good coach. He slows the game down to his team's positives, right? Mike Wright was their all everything, but he's on a better all everything than what Malik Murphy was last week. Duke beat Elon 26-3. Elon sucks, guys. Elon really blows. Like, or Elon's not good. Like, they're not a good team at all, right? They don't have the same. They don't even have the same amount of scholarships as Miami, Ohio, right? And Northwestern, they didn't smash Miami, but it wasn't like they were threatening to lose. So I'm going to go with Northwestern. I don't think Northwestern's good either, but I do think that and plus Duke, their coach is Manny Diaz. How many times why is Manny Diaz getting head coaching job still? Right? So yeah, I'm going to take Northwestern.
So is that 2 out of 3?
Yeah.
2 out of 3.
All right.
I thought I was going to be on the island, dude. We'll do that for the next one. The next one's the island one.
All right. We've got number 3 moved up one spot. We got Texas coming into Michigan. We're giving Texas 7.5. What do we think?
Mike, you want to cut this one off?
Yeah, sure. I like Texas big. We saw what Michigan's offense was this past week. The final score looked a whole lot better. They needed a pick six and a late touchdown for them to really kind of, to get that gap there. But it was a one-score game heading into the fourth quarter. The two quarterbacks for Michigan are just bad. Like Warren and Orji are just bad. Like really bad. And in this day and age of college football, you don't necessarily need, Michigan showed last year that you don't need that elite guy, although JJ McCarthy was a first round draft pick, but I wouldn't consider him like in an upper echelon of quarterbacks. I think he's like solidly in like a tier 2 in the college game. But I mean, the drop off from a tier 2 to like a literal walk on and a guy who throws arm punts Like, I mean, we're looking at a Denard Robinson situation all over again with Orgy.
They wish.
I know, right?
They fucking wish, dude.
I mean, Orgy's got the running ability. He could, but he's clearly not as fast as Denard. He's
This is
bigger
like a
than
Devin
Denard.
Gardner situation, dude.
Okay. Well, Gardner was a decent passer. Orgy is horrendous. No. Compared to Orgy.
That might be true. That might be true.
Compared to Orgy,
You might be on something.
You might want to raise your bar. I'm going to trip over it.
I mean, seriously, it's really low. And you know what? You look across at the Longhorn sidelines, and you've got a former Buckeye in Quinn Ewers who gets the rivalry in his press conference earlier in the week. He literally said that team up north. He's still buying it. I think there is a little bit of hatred for him there. Not too much, but a little bit. And, I feel like Michigan has one way of winning this game, and that's to cause multiple turnovers. And I just don't see the Longhorns, turning the ball over that many times. It has to be like 3-4-ish in order for them to win and stand a chance, because it's not like Texas doesn't bring a pretty solid defense into Ann Arbor as well. So I'm taking Texas here outright.
Chris, what you got?
Oh, I'm going Texas. Hey, first quarter is going to start a little slow. Noon game. Texas coming up to Michigan in the big house. Starts slow for a minute, but again, I think that Michigan defense is going to be on the field way too long. I'm taking Texas. I'm taking Texas 14+.
Yeah, I'm with you. Texas is going to pound them like it's prom night, dude. It's Michigan sucked. They were really bad. Fresno State, remember, this is the same team that lost their head coach like a month before the season. Donovan Edwards, who graced the cover of College Football 25, wasn't even the leading rusher. This team has no idea who they are, dude. Texas, the dub. Texas looked good too. Texas put the beat down on a really good Mountain West team. Texas was one of those teams where I watched last week and I was like, that's better than Ohio State. So you want to move on to the next game, Chris?
Yep, let's do it. We've got Bowling Green coming off a win, coming into Happy Valley. That game is at noon on the Big Ten. We've got Penn State minus 34.5. Hey, I'm taking Penn after their performance last week. They looked good. It's not a Ohio State versus Akron. It's going into Morgantown. Penn State, let me use the old Boston Celtics. Penn State might be the balls, but I think they win big. I say they're 34 points. I see it.
Mike?
Yeah, I'm gonna keep this short and sweet. I got the Nittany Lions. They're gonna smoke the Bowling Green. I can't see them just hanging.
Yeah, man. Bowling Green played Fordham last week. I know they smoked them, but Fordham is not good. Right, Fordham is an FCS school, and Penn State was one of the most impressive teams in the country last week. They put their backups in. That's how bad they smashed West Virginia. They came out from a break. There was a break because of a storm. Storms like that usually, a big giant break like that usually caters to the home team because the home team gets to be comfortable in their own surroundings. Penn State still came up to whip that ass. So Penn State's really tough. Favorite three. I'll drop the 34.5. Let's rock and roll.
Love it. Rhode Island 1-0 coming into Minnesota. Minnesota minus 12. Hey,
this is another spread that we couldn't find. This is another spread we found. No, we found this on an offshore site as well. So I want to be clear about that. No one here will be laying money on this, but we had Minnesota minus 12. Oh, by the way, I do have legitimate money on Texas. By the way, already placed that bet.
How is it just again these offshore books, man? I don't know how are they just giving money away?
Dude, I don't know if it's legitimate. That might have been. I didn't sign up for it.
I'll take it.
Yep. Minnesota.
I'd probably take it at 22.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm with you, Mike.
I don't log in. I don't need offshore books because I live in Ohio, but they give you like the entry thing. So it could have been a deal, dude. I don't know, man. I'm just doing the best I can with some of this. But I'm going to tell you, the listener, when I can't find the spread and I had to basically go off of a fucking Reddit post. Okay. So that's where we're at with this one. So let's just move on to the next one, Chris.
All right. After that beat down, Akron limps into the Rutgers. We got Rutgers minus 22.5. I think this is, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, sorry. Chris, you can go. That's cool. My bad.
Hey man, I think it's like this effect you see these teams that after they play Alabama, they ain't worth a shit. I don't think Akron's going to be worth a shit. Hell, they might even have a quarterback. I'm taking Rutgers. I'm taking the point. They're going to win by more than 22.
Mike, where you at?
I like that. I just think, again, they were in a war against the Buckeyes, and they came out, with their tails between their legs. And I think this week impacts, similar to what Ohio State's going to see with Western, this week's going to impact, last week will impact this week.
Rutgers looked good last week too. Rutgers clearly they understand their identity. I know it was against Howard, but they understood their identity. They understood the assignment, and Manung guy's the real deal. So let's go Rutgers. And I saw the starting quarterback for Akron with tears in his eyes. So on to the next one, Chris.
Iowa playing at home against Iowa State. We've got Iowa minus 2.5. I'm taking Iowa 2.5, and I think I didn't get to see any of Iowa State, but being at home, I'll and take the 2.5. Wave at the kids, you name it.
Yeah, my sister's a Cyclone. But sorry, Kate. I think that Iowa puts the beat down. They look like they have somewhat of an offense as well. I think their running back in the first half was suspended, and then I can't remember his name. I'm blanking on it.
LaShawn Williams.
Yeah, and then he came back. He came back in the second half and just looked absolutely awesome. So I think the Hawkeyes are finding somewhat of an offensive identity, and if they can, they're going to be pretty potent. So I got Iowa more. I take them at like 7.
I think Iowa State's a tough team. I know that. What's his name? What's that coach's name again?
Kirk Ferentz.
No, Iowa State's.
No.
We're doing great, guys.
Matt Campbell.
Matt Campbell. I know that Matt Campbell has really struggles against Kirk Ferentz. I think that this team is really good. I'm a
Matt
big
Campbell was talked about getting like huge jobs just a couple years ago too. Just throwing it out there.
Yeah, one was the Ohio State job, one was the Browns job. Yeah, Rocco Becht, I think, is a pretty good quarterback. They have if you look at returning production and starters and stuff like that, and I don't put this stuff together, but you're the Phil Steele or whoever you want to go to. Iowa State returned everybody, right? And Matt Campbell is a decent coach, so I'm gonna take the points with Iowa State for sure. So I am all alone on an island. All right, okay. Next one.
We've got Michigan State coming into Maryland. Both teams 1-0. We got Maryland minus 9. Michigan State didn't look good last week.
You take Maryland?
Aiden Childs told you to take the over.
Yeah, Aiden Childs already burnt me once, so no, I'm taking Maryland.
Beating himself.
Mike,
I'm taking Maryland.
Like Chris said, the Spartans looked so bad last week. I got the Terrapins there at home. I think first Big Ten matchup of the season, right? All Big Ten teams played last week, right?
No. That is correct.
I think Maryland takes this one.
Yeah, man, I'm with you. I watched both of those games, and Michigan State blows, dude. Aiden Childs can't throw the ball. Nathan Carter couldn't get any goddamn room. The kid from Massachusetts looked okay. But yeah, that was just a really bad. That's not. I don't think that they're going to be a good team this year. And Maryland looked good. I know that they were playing. I'm trying to look. They played like Connecticut. Yeah, that's right. They smashed Connecticut. But Connecticut's an FBS school, right? So that's better than Howard. That's better than North Dakota. That's better than a lot of teams we've been talking about. And they hammered them. They have that Pratt or the wide receiver looks good. The quarterback Edwards looks good. Yeah, man, I'm with you guys. We'll do the Maryland together. What's the next one, Chris?
Oh, too easy. Eastern Michigan 1-0 coming into Washington. I had tickets for this game Friday, and I already sold them. I would rather watch Michigan and Texas and not sit in Seattle traffic for 6 hours. Washington, 25 points. I'm taking Washington.
I'm taking the dogs too. Whoop, whoop, whoop. I think they played well last week, and I think they play well again this week.
Yeah, Washington looked really good last week. You know, it seems like Will Rogers has a connection with that.
Who was right about that, by the way, huh?
Oh, Washington?
Yeah.
Well, they played Weber State. I don't think they're going to
but
compete
they
in the Big
looked
Ten.
good, though. Come on.
They looked very good. They looked
In
very
Jeb we
good.
trust.
I also did expect them to blow out Weber State. And by the way, I was also right in that game because somebody took Denzel Boston, who is the clear-cut number one. Well, of course, I should shut my mouth because this week can be Jeremiah Hunter. But yeah, Washington looked good. Jonah Coleman looked good. Will Rogers looked good. Denzel Boston looked good. Weber State is not a joke.
I mean, Washington's ranked in the coaches poll. Like,
are they really?
Yeah, 25th. Yeah.
There you go. So yeah, I'm riding with you again. They'll be ranked even higher this week because they're gonna pound the shit out of Eastern Michigan. On to the next one, Chris.
South Dakota, who is 1-0 coming into Camp Randall Stadium. Josh went ahead and piecemealed this.
No, this
one. Oh, this one's legit.
This line is legit, 100%.
Yeah, South Dakota's good.
Really?
Like they're
where I looked. That's on BetMGM. That's on Caesars.
Shit.
That's legit.
They have a very solid program. I
You
don't
gentlemen-
think they're going to win this game.
No, you
But I
gentlemen
would
are going to
say-
make me turn into Fox Sports 1 at 3:30 Eastern. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I'd probably not take them.
Hold on. So Mike, Mike, you're taking South Dakota?
No. I'm taking. I think Wisconsin covers that.
Oh, okay. And Chris, what'd you say?
Big Ten's Big Ten. I'm going Wisconsin.
Okay. I'm also going Wisconsin. It should be known that South Dakota smashed the shit out of they played like a Bishop Sycamore team last week. Something to keep your eyes out for. It was not a university I've ever heard of.
Northern State Wolves.
What the fuck is that?
Which state?
Exactly. It's just like is that straight from college football 25?
I'm looking at their ESPN profile. They don't even have like a graphic for their mascot.
Very, very shady. Very, very shady. Yeah, okay, so we're all on the same page. What's next?
All right, we ride. All right. We've got
we all agree.
All agree. We've got Kansas 1-0 coming into Illinois. Kansas favored 5.5. I'm taking Kansas.
Yeah,
I'm taking Kansas. That quarterback's a stud.
Yep, I agree with you. I think that Kansas has Jalen Daniels is really good. I think his season last year was cut a little bit short due to injury. He stays healthy. This dude's one of the most electric quarterbacks in the country. So, yeah, I got the Jayhawks here.
Dude, I don't think he didn't play last week, though, against Lindenwood. I have not seen – somebody needs to put, like –
No, he did, didn't he?
I don't think so, dude.
No, he did. He went 9 for 15, 148 yards, a touchdown, and a pick.
You got picked by Lindenwood.
Didn't run the ball. Yeah.
Yeah, someone needs to put out an APB for whatever. I'm with you guys. I'm riding with Kansas. We're all three riding with Kansas. But his lack of usage is pretty alarming to me. Like, I'm pretty sure Illinois knocked them out last year too. But I'm with you. I've been singing the praises of their head coach, who came from Buffalo. I can't remember his name off the top of my head right now. But yeah, I like Kansas. I do. I know Illinois looked really impressive last week, and they showed that they could throw the ball as well as run the ball. But I'm still riding with Kansas. On to the next one.
All right. We got Coach Prime's crew, Colorado, coming into Nebraska. That is a 7:30 prime time game on Peacock. Bastards. Nebraska
Just
-7.
Peacock already. Jeez.
I know.
And it's got good content on there aside from the football too. Like
I'm
really
just not a
Before
big
we jump
Office
into this
fan,
game, I want to be clear. We all took Ohio State given 38, correct?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right, cool. All right, Chris, what you got from Nebraska and Colorado?
I will take Nebraska. I'll take the 7. I'd want to take more. Everything in me wants more. I want to see it with my eyeballs a lot more. But you're going to see a lot of crazy shit in this game, I think. It's just what I think.
But you're going to lay the 7 then?
Yeah.
Okay. Mike, where you at?
Yeah, love Prime the player. Hate Coach Prime. I just don't buy any of the crap he's selling. I think they have 2 elite guys, and Shador and Travis Hunter, and then the rest of their rosters are just a bunch of blah.
Yeah, even Dallin Hayden looked like shit last week.
Yeah, I mean
Agreed.
their offensive line did play a little bit better than they did last year, but like I mean they were literally like the worst offensive line in the country last year, so they really had nowhere to go but up. Let's be
Agreed.
real about that. I just feel like them going on the road, not being at home, playing a rejuvenated Huskers program. I got Nebraska.
Yeah, man, I'm with you guys. Nebraska actually looked good last week. They pounded Utah 47. Dylan Raiola looks like the real deal. I don't have money on this game, but I do have a tease. So I did tease this down to 1 point because I do. So I technically do have money on Nebraska. It's just down. I got it down to 1 point. So I'm with you guys. People are making excuses for Colorado too. Like, oh well, their offensive line looked better, their defensive line looked better. I mean, I'm not bashing you, Mike, but a lot of people are saying that. But it's like, dude, they played North Dakota State, and I understand that that's a good team, but that is not. They're not a good Big Ten team, right? That would be a team that would compete in the MAC, right? And they still wouldn't win the MAC, right? Like in most years. So I don't know why they're getting credit for that shit. I'm down, dude. I'm right with you guys.
Well, that's the whole mice and men thing. Hey, we scheduled North Dakota State. If we beat them, oh hey, we beat an FCS powerhouse. If we lose to them, hey, they're an FCS powerhouse. That's their scheduling. And let's be real, they
still played like shit.
North Dakota State caught a Hail Mary on the 5-yard line last play of the game too.
Man, they like shit. It's so weird. They're getting a lot of credit for pulling that one out. All right, on to the next one.
Boise State 1-0 coming into now newly number 7 Oregon. We got Oregon minus 19. I'll take Oregon, but I'm not taking them 19. I think that Boise State running back is a stud.
Ashton
Jeanty. That's what I was going to say, Jeanty. But yeah, I think he's a stud.
I'm not sure.
I can see Oregon 14. I'm not seeing 19.
Yeah, no, I'm going to
wait, so you're
this one. Oh, yeah.
So you're taking Oregon dropping the 19?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mike, where you at?
Yeah.
I think Oregon bounces back this week. Dylan Gabriel threw 8 billion yards last week, but they just couldn't find the end zone. I think this week is the time where that they find the end zone, and those 8 billion yards are part of it. I could see him going off for like 350, 400 passing yards, 4 to 5 touchdowns, and Oregon just rolling. I think that, especially considering the fact that they dropped in the major polls, people are kind of souring on them a little bit. I think this is the week where they kind of like say, you know what, fuck you guys, we're fucking good. So I got Oregon.
Yeah, I hope you're right, Mike. Because they look like shit last week. Part of me thinks that Dylan Gabriel is overrated, dude. I mean, because after watching Oklahoma sling the bitch with Jackson Arnold, Oklahoma looked better with Jackson Arnold than they did with Dylan Gabriel. I know it was against Temple.
They couldn't find the end zone. That was literally their only problem.
Their average depth of target was like 2 yards, dude.
He went 40.
Who didn't miss the end zone?
41 for 49 for 380 yards.
Do you know who didn't miss the end zone? Yeah, the average is like 10 yards. That's like half of what Will Howard.
I'm good with that. That 10 yards is a first down.
You know who would have found the end zone? Bo Nix, bro. That's all I'm saying. Oregon's going to be fantastic this year. They'll figure it out, but I don't think it's going to be on the back of Dylan Gabriel. I think eventually they're going to figure out how to use Evan Stewart in a more appropriate way. Jordan James. I'm with you. I like Oregon. It's less about Oregon. It's more about Boise State sucked last week too. JT was great, but they let Georgia Southern score like 42 points. So it's like, dude, all
right. 45.
I think that the hate towards Oregon is a little overreactionary, not necessarily because I think that Oregon's great, which I do, but I'm trying to figure out a way to say this. I'm not pressing the panic button on Oregon. My stance on Oregon has not changed after 1 week. I understand those who have changed their opinion on Oregon. They look like shit. But Boise State also looked like shit. So that's why I'm confused. So, yeah, I'm dropping the 19, boys. We're all together on that one.
Yep, with it. And Utah State 1-0 coming off the newly ranked USC 1-0 team that is now 13. USC minus 28.5. Go ahead. Hey, the sky's the limit right now for USC. I'll take it.
You're taking USC?
Yeah, I think that the change from away from our beloved friend Alex Grinch was obviously just gonna be great. because when Ohio State got rid of him, it looked much better as well. I think he's a terrible defensive mind. He has no idea what the hell he's doing. I think that Lincoln Riley made a very smart, wise decision to kick his ass out of his program. And now you're seeing the results of it. They've always had the talent. It's the scheme and understanding how to put players in the proper position to succeed. And they did that last week against LSU. I thought they won the trenches, which I think, was very surprising to me. I thought LSU had a clear and definite advantage in that area. I was way wrong. USC had it. So I like the Trojans big here. I think they win by 30, 40 points.
Yeah, I do want to give a shout out to how often Mike and I agreed on this episode, because everything he said just there describes what I saw. But I think we all saw it. We all picked LSU last week. We all failed miserably. But you're right. That defense just did a total 360. When we had the fantasy draft, we all kind of struggled to pick which wide receiver would be after Zachariah Branch. And now you know why, because they have a plethora of talent that's just undiscovered. I'm riding with you boys. USC, Utah State struggled last week too with Robert Morris, who I don't know if you guys are familiar with Robert Morris. Robert Morris played against Valparaiso. They were in a similar, they were like our sister conference or whatever. And then Dorian Bell, that was Duquesne. I'm sorry. Bell played at Duquesne, but same conference. So that the Northeastern Conference or whatever. Not a good school. What's my point? Not good. And they allowed that fucking sick ass ESPN top 10 defensive back interception. That was that game.
Oh, that was great. Oh my goodness. That was great. Gentlemen, I am man enough to admit when I am wrong. You have steered me in the realm of right. I will take Oregon plus 19. It was Dan Lanning's worst win and worst performance. They bounced back big. Okay.
Chris, you told me Oregon. I already wrote you down for Oregon.
Okay.
They're
gonna win by more than 19.
By more than, you said
just confirming it.
That's why I was confused. I had to ask. I'm like, you're dropping the points. And you're like, yeah, Oregon taking the 19. I'm like, but you're giving the 19. You're like, yep. And I was like, all right, cool, write it down. So you're good. You and your betting lingo. Hey, they win by this much. All right. Get out of here. If it's a negative, that means I'm giving it to you.
You're over here on offshore betting sites. No, come on now. All right.
Not anymore, dude. That's fucking rough.
That is the week 2 Big Ten matchups. And just to close it out, a couple episodes ago, we went ahead and did our Big Ten fantasy draft. This is through week 1, and here are the current standings. I wanted to animate this. I wanted to pop up 5, 4, 3. StreamYard won't allow it. But
if you can make those dick shapes and make them rise too. That's cool. Yeah, that'd be so cool.
Every winner each week is the most erect. I gotcha.
So for those that don't know, this draft was probably go back to our YouTube channel. So it's best ball. So we don't set our lineups. We draft. We don't do transactions. We don't do trades. We draft and we let it ride. The highest scoring Big Ten player last week was actually Hudson Card, who, you guessed it, after 20 rounds in 5 teams, no one drafted the highest scoring player in the Big Ten. And this list is only going to get funnier, boys and girls, because I have the backup quarterback at Maryland. Chris has the backup kicker at USC. Mike, I'm sure you have some embarrassing players as well. So this
of course.
But Ty Felton was my big winner this week, boys. So hopefully Maryland can pull off another one with Felton.
No, wholeheartly. When USC went down, it had a beautiful. Not to go back. USC had some great 2-minute offense.
Yes.
Right before half, they missed the kick. And the second he missed the kick, I said, get him out of here. Bring the backup in. I've got the backup. Bring him out of here. Get him out of here.
Before that's last slide, Chris.
That's it, bub. Yep.
So I got one more thing. I gave out my 3 best bets from last week. I went 1 and 2. So anybody who followed me, I apologize. I was upset by how Rich Rod hurt me. Rich Rod got destroyed. Jacksonville State didn't play the right quarterback.
This one's for Rich Rod.
Oh, very upsetting. Oklahoma looked great though, so that cashed for us. And then I took another steps backwards with the Syracuse loss because Syracuse won, but barely against Ohio. I got 3 of my best bets this week. I'm really feeling good about it. Texas giving 7 to Michigan. I know you guys are on top of that as well. Utah giving 14.5 to Baylor. Those of you that are Ohio State fans will remember Daquan Finn, the starting quarterback at Baylor, was the starting quarterback at Toledo when Ohio State beat their ass a couple years ago. He's going to be eyes wide open when he goes up to Salt Lake City to take on Cameron Rising. My number 3 best bet, Georgia Tech giving 2.5 to Syracuse. I love Kyle McCord. Everybody on this podcast knows that. Everybody that listens to this podcast knows that. I love Rondé Gadsden. Everybody that listens to this podcast knows that. Syracuse did not play well last week.
Oh,
I don't know
shocker.
he threw for like 1 billion yards and 4 touchdowns, but they didn't. I mean, they were kind of clunky. They took a while. They look like Ohio State. They just took a while to get started. But again, I shit on Ohio State. So, and Georgia Tech did not. Georgia Tech, we all watched Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech's a tough goddamn team with a good quarterback and a good running back. So let's ride. Give it 2.5, baby.
Yeah.
Let's ride. Well, we've got another slate of Big Ten games this week. We've got 2 on Friday.
Yes.
2 on Friday. 2 and there's no college football tomorrow because NFL starts tomorrow. We got Chiefs and Ravens tomorrow. Yeah.
Yes, which it was great. I had 3 fantasy drafts within a 2-hour time frame yesterday, so that was quite
very nice.
It's definitely the Eagles playing tomorrow, right?
You're definitely wrong.
Am I wrong? Oh shit!
I don't know. They play Friday.
Oh, you're right. I'm an idiot. My bad. I thought.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. Because the Packers Eagles game is the ones that's in Brazil.
Yeah.
I apologize. I messed up my miles.
They told all the players not to leave their hotel rooms and go out and walk around Brazil because it's crime.
And you know what I think about that?
Stuff like that, that's a load of crap.
All right, so
listen.
we got anything else, Josh? Anything else?
No, man. Follow me on Twitter at Josh Keatley16. Yeah, if you guys want to do a post game pod, we'll talk about it and figure it out.
Love it.
All right. Anything else from you, Chris?
Nope. You can find me here on Wednesdays.
You can follow me at Mike M. Chen. That's it for this week. We appreciate the listen. Make sure you like, follow, subscribe on our YouTube channel. We definitely would appreciate that. And go Bucks.
Go Bucks.